Hello, in this video I'm going to do a continuation of my tank building series. In the first video I covered why I choose the Imperial tank race. In this video I'm going to cover why I use the food that I use, the armor weights and traits and glyphs that I use. So if I've got other things to cover after that, I will probably make another video. So let's get into that really quickly. I'm going to switch over to my crafting build so I can go over the glyphs of what I use really quickly. So that if you don't know how to make these glyphs, I can show you how to make everything. And you can pause the video and learn how to make those right away. So right on the screen, as you can see, I've got the Hardening Glyph for the sword. This is the glyph that I put on my sword on my front bar. And what this will do is it will give you a damage shield um, when you activate the glyph, basically. This value is the two-handed value, so it is going to be half of this value here. You'll get a damage shield that shows about 1600 or so on the sword. So just keep that in mind. That is a two-handed value that's showing here, in case you were to put it on a staff, for example. So just to cover my back bar, I used to run Infused Crusher on the back bar, and I don't do that anymore because I handle penetration all the way with my build, and I have done a video on that. So in case you are curious about that, I have done a video. It's on my playlist. So I will start off a little bit tangent here and say I'm going to link my tanking playlist that has all the decisions of why I've done this and why I've do the things I do. If you have an argument against it, I would appreciate you go watching my video. I've explained it already in a video. I'm not going to go hash it over and make the video super long on everything that I've already done. If you want to watch that video, great. I appreciate it. I will put the playlist in the description. Check them out, see what you think. If you're wanting to learn, great. It's an awesome resource. I've done several videos on tanking, and I've covered several topics, and I've done this in detail, and I've demonstrated why I do this. So moving forward here, this is how I put the glyph on my back bar now. This will help with stamina. I'm probably going to do a video on how to um, preserve stamina on a tank. There's several different things that I do that I think are a little bit uh, I won't say unique or anything. I didn't create the method in terms of putting it into the game, but I think I probably use a little bit more niche techniques than what most people do. And so I tend to get a lot of arguments on that. But I will say I've tested this. It works for me. If it doesn't work for you or you don't want to use it, great, fine, whatever. I'm just showing you my method. So this is an absorb stamina glyph. And how this gets activated when I put my wall of elements down. This will give me stamina passively while the spell is down on the ground and doing damage. So that is a passive way of obtaining stamina. It's not a large amount, but every little bit helps. And so those are my two weapon glyphs. So for the armor and for my front bar shield, I use the tried and true, what everybody else uses, the prismatic defense glyph that gives you 3 types of maximum stats, the Magicka, health, and stamina. That is the best glyph to use. If you're just building a tank and you're kind of leveling and everything, don't put these on that. You're not going to want to burn up your Hakeijos for that. Only put this once you're done with the gear that you're going to wear. Yeah, I would recommend not putting this on gear that you're just going to only temporarily wear. Just put it on stuff that you're finalizing and you're going to keep in place for however long that lasts. I know this game changes a lot. So um, that is made with the Rapora, the Hakeijo, and the Kutas. So for anybody that doesn't know where to get the Hakeijos from, you can buy them on traders. I will warn you, sometimes the price on those are quite high, and so you want to be careful at what price you do buy them for. I would recommend anything around 8,000 and under is probably a good price. If you're getting up and over 10,000, you're probably buying at a high market at that point. Use your Telvar that you get from your monthly logins. You can buy those from a vendor in the Imperial City for 5,000 Telvar per Hakeijo. So they are kind of expensive. So that's why I say be careful where you put them, and when you put them on, you can't take them back off. So be careful where you use them. They're not to be used just fruitfully. Be careful where you put them. So those are the armor glyphs, and then the last little bit here is the jewelry glyphs. This is a little bit of another unique point for me. I use the Magicka reduction glyphs on my jewelry. Again, I've done a video on this, and I've demonstrated it and showed it in detail. So anybody who wants to go watch those and see why I do that, I have demonstrated and explained it in length in other videos. So this is the jewelry glyph that I use on all of my tanks, regardless of what role they are in for dungeons and trials. So those are the glyphs. I'm going to get back on my main build now that I don't have to show any more glyph information. So I'll just finish out covering the gear. I always use infused jewelry. And the reason why is it makes your glyphs on your jewelry more potent. You may squeak out something else with a different setup, but I think this is the most beneficial thing, is to reduce your cost of your spells, and that helps you with sustain and staying alive and everything else. Getting a little bit more block mitigation, you can get that in other ways. And the other thing is you can only get so much block mitigation, and the more you stack into it, the less potent it is. So I feel like this is the best use of jewelry, is to have the infused. Another little tiny hack I will briefly mention: if you have perfected trials gear, I would recommend putting it on the jewelry. That way you don't have to spend chromiums building out gear. The other thing I'm going to talk about is I use all Divine's gear in the armor except for the chest piece. I use reinforced. So everything else that you see here is all Divine's, including the shield. Then I use medium armor on the head and the shoulders. This is another topic that I've covered in my tanking videos. I will also, again, if you go onto the playlist, you'll find the video that I talk about the monster sets and why I choose that. And for the back bar, I have the infused Stamina Glyph. As you can see, it's not a crusher glyph, and I've explained that again in another video. So I'm not going to hash over that. So that's the gear. So now I'm going to talk about the Mundus. I always use the Atronach. Magicka recovery is absolutely huge in the Elder Scrolls Online for tanks. That allows you to heal, that allows you to pop your shields, and most of your other spells that you have, you want to have it as much mag recovery as you can as a tank. So the food, I recommend using Orzoga's Red Frothgar, and the reason why is it gives you the most max health and Magicka recovery in a food choice that you can get. Those two components there are always beneficial. They literally do not shut off. You always have your max health, and you always have your mag recovery. I know a lot of people talk about using the smoked bear haunch or the Jewels of Misrule, and the reason why I'm going to advise against those two things, I'll use the jewels since I have it here in the cheaper form. This one does not require you to use perfect row to make the smoked bear. if you look at the amount here, I get max health of almost 5,400 in Orzogas. For jewels, you get just under 4,000. So I get 1,400 more max health with just this right here. And if you're looking at mag recovery, I have almost 500 mag recovery right there. And jewels is just over 350. So I'm getting almost another 150 mag recovery from this food right here. Now, a lot of people will say, well, what about the stamina recovery? Well, when you're blocking in the Elder Scrolls Online, here's your stamina recovery right here, just standing still. That's only 643 stamina. Now, that is only going to tick once every 2 seconds. So over a 10-second period, you're going to get about 3,000 stamina back with this recovery. That's not a lot of stamina to compensate for in a recovery. So if you hold block, your stamina recovery goes to 0. So now, if you're perma blocking during something, then you definitely aren't going to get any stamina back. But if you are only sometimes blocking, you're only going to get some of those recovery ticks because your recovery only ticks once every 2 seconds. It's not once every 1. So this only ticks every 2 seconds. And you can see that on the right-hand side of the screen there, where it says, when in combat, your recovery stamina every 2 seconds. So keep that in mind. And that is why I choose the red Frothgar, because when I'm blocking, this doesn't go to 0. Even on my back bar. Now, the important thing about this is I'm on an ice staff on my back bar. You want to make sure that you do not fill in the trifocus passive, because if you do, when you block with the ice staff, if you fill in the trifocus passive, then it will zero this out. And that's what you want to avoid. You always want to block with stamina. You never want to block with Magicka. Unless you build completely differently and you account for that, then you could look at an offset build like that. But you really have to change a lot in order to do that properly. So make sure that you do not fill in the trifocus passive. So how do I sustain stamina? I'm going to do that in another video in the series because I think that's a little bit more detailed of a subject. But that's the food that I recommend running. Those are the glyphs and the gear weights and the traits. And I don't think I covered the front bar sword here is decisive, and that is the hardened glyph there. It shows the 1,800 value. As I said, it's a one-handed value, not the 3,200 that was in the display window earlier. Again, I run the Imperial race, so that covers the race was covered in the first video, and then there's the armor, the weapons, the glyphs, the food. And for potions, for the most part, all I ever run is tri-stat tripots. And if you don't know how to make those, you get them for free from logins. A lot of times they're the purple login ones, but you can make it by putting in the Locans tiers, and then it's Bug Loss, Columbine, and Mountain Flower right there. And I can't really show it because I'll get on my craft build one more time to show that. So you have that on a good screen to freeze it if you need to. So Locans tiers, Bug Loss, Columbine, and Mountain Flower. This is how you make tripots. Now, if you don't have the materials to make tripots like this, You can either go purchase the alchemy ingredients to make these if you want to. It could be kind of expensive depending on when you're buying them and what the market looks like. If you don't have the log-in rewards stuff, for example, we got some 2 days ago. Well, I did anyway. I know I've missed a couple of days this month. A couple of days ago, we got the there it is right there, the tripots. These are the crown versions. They're almost exactly the same that you can build. The third option is you can buy the alliance potions from the vendors in Cyrodiil for alliance points. So if you have spare alliance points, you can buy the potions from them, and they're pretty. That's a pretty good way to buy. Otherwise, you can look for them on traders, or they may. I don't know what the price is for those, but so two things that you can buy with your PvP stuff, Hakeijos and potions are probably, if you're not a PvPer and you get a bunch of login stuff that you don't ever use, and you tank, that would be something I would recommend using that for, to kind of ease your wallet a little bit so you don't have to buy stuff on traders. But that's going to do it for this video. I will think about what else to cover in the next video. We'll see how many more of these I need to make before I cover everything that I want to. But I would definitely urge you, if you're interested in tanking, or if you're interested in what I think on how to tank, or any of that other stuff that I've already covered in other videos, check out my tanking playlist. I will link it in the description, or you can find it on my YouTube channel if you go to my channel and go down to my created playlists and go over to my tanking videos. And they're readily available there. If you just go to my channel, you down to my created playlists, and you'll find my tanking playlist there. It has several videos. I don't even remember how many of them there are, but there are quite a few. But I want to thank everybody for watching this. If you want to keep an eye on when I post some more stuff, make sure you have your notification bell on, subscribe to the channel. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.